Lesson 4-1, solving percent problems using equations. You have seen problems like this before, and the big idea is many types of questions involving percents can be answered by solving an equation of the form A times X equals B. So if we were trying to find X, all we'd have to do is divide by A. Okay, we've solved these problems plenty of times before. Okay, now a couple of things that I want to note. In English, when you're transferring English to math, when you hear the word of means multiply in math. When you hear the word is means equal. Okay, so as we're going through these problems and we get these word problems and we need to transform it into a math problem, okay, of means multiply, is means equals, and that's going to play an important role in when we're doing these problems. Example 1 says 7% of what number is 91? So this is what I do, okay? I start and I go left to right. Well, 7% is actually a number, so we're just going to bring that down. And we don't write it as 7%, well, we write it as a decimal. So 7% as a decimal, you move it 2 places to the left, and now becomes 0.07. Okay? So 0.07 of means multiply. And what I normally do is put a little dot in here because I like my variable to be x. Okay, so I use the dot signifying multiplication. Okay, what number? What number is our variable? That's our x. Okay, is means equals, and 91 is just a number, so you just bring that down. Okay, so all I did was change the percentage to a decimal. Of means multiply. What number is my variable that I'm trying to find? Is means equals, and then 91. So 0.07 times x is just like saying 0.07x equals 91. Okay? So where's my variable at? Well, my variable's on the left side. So the inverse of multiplying by 0.07 is dividing by 0.07. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. X is going to equal, well, what's 91 divided by 0.07? I don't know either, so you go to your calculator. 91 divided by 0.07 is 1,300. Now, you can check your answer. I can put this back in. 7% of 1,300. Does that equal 91? Or 7% times 1,300, does that equal 91? Well, 0.07 times 1,300, does that equal 91? It sure does if you check it out on your calculator. Yes, it works. Moving on, example 2. What percent of 160 is 38.4. Now, what I like to do instead of calling what percent my x, I like to put WP. Why do I put WP? Is so that I remember I want percentage. Okay, what percent? So I leave it as WP for my variable. Of means multiply, 160. Is means equals, and 38.4 is just a number, so we just bring that down. So the inverse of multiplying by 160 is dividing by 160. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. WP equals 38.4 divided by 160, you can do this on your calculator just like Mr. Johnson, is 0.24. Now, when you get to this point, you have to ask yourself, is this a decimal? No, this is not a, or is this a decimal? Yes, it's a decimal. Is it a percentage? No, it's not a percentage. So I need to convert my decimal to percentage. So what's my percentage? Well, to find percentage, you have to move it 2 decimal places to the right. When I move that 2 decimal places to the right, it is 24%. So 38.4 is 24% of 160, which is almost a quarter, which 40 is a quarter, so 38.4 is a little bit less than that. So yeah, that should make sense to you. Example 3 says, Ian, Cassidy, Quincy, and Dylan ate at a local restaurant. The meal costs $36.50 without a tip. The bill states an 18% gratuity tip will be added for parties of 4. Okay, do we have a party of 4? Yes. That means we have to pay the 18% gratuity. There's no choice. Okay, you have to pay it. You have to watch that sometimes when you go to restaurants. Okay, find the total cost of the meal and tip. Okay, so what we have to understand is that the meal plus the tip equals my total cost. Okay, the meal plus my tip has to equal the total cost. Well, I want you to think about this. Okay, let's think about this in percentage. Do you have to pay the whole percentage of the meal? Can you just pay part of it, 50% of it? No, you have to pay 100% of the meal. Okay, plus we have to pay our tip. Well, it states that our tip has to be 18%. So we have 100% for the meal, plus another 18% of the meal has to equal our total cost. Okay? Now, we don't know what the total cost is. That's my X. Okay? Well, we're paying 118% of what? We're paying 118% of my meal because we're paying the cost of the meal and then some. Well, you can't figure out the tip unless you know how much the meal costs. So I'm paying 118%. I'm paying the price of the meal, plus I'm paying another 18% of the price of the meal. Hopefully that makes sense. Equals my total cost, which I just said now is my X. Well, how much is the meal? Maybe that's what I should write here. Price of meal. I'm paying 118% of the price of the meal. So my problem actually is 118% of, which is multiply, the price of the meal. What's my price of the meal? Well, it says the price of my meal is $36.50. Equals my variable, which is X. I don't know it yet. Okay? We'll change this to a decimal. 1.18, 2 decimal places to your left, times 3650 equals X. Therefore, X equals, and 1.18 times 3650 is $43.07. Now, this should make sense to you. Why should this make sense to you? Well, this number had better be bigger. Why had this number better be bigger? Well, because we're paying 118%. So it has to be bigger than $36.50. Is it bigger? Yes. Okay? Because we're paying 100% of the meal plus an extra amount, which is almost 20%. So 20% probably is pretty close to being $7, okay? You have to make sure it all plays out and that what you're looking for makes sense. We have to use logic. Quiz yourself. If a meal costs $21.16 with a 15% tip, what was the cost before the tip? So this is a problem similar to the other one. The only difference is we don't know what the price of the meal was, okay? So we paid for meal plus tip equals 115% because 100% for the meal and 15% of the tip. So the meal plus tip equals 115%. So it's 115% of what amount? We don't know the amount. We know the total amount. This is total amount. We don't know what the cost of the meal was. So I'm just going to put cost equals $21.16. Okay? Because that's what the total cost was. So now, move it 2 decimal places to the left. 1.15 times the cost, which is, I'm just going to call C, equals $21.16. Now, this is what you got to think about. Remember before we had this number times this number equaled this number? Okay? Since this was 115%, this number was bigger than this number. So since we're looking for this number, we should expect this number to be smaller than 21.16. Let's find out if it is. The inverse operation of 1.15 times C is 1.15C, or 1.15 divided by 1.15. You divide it out. C gives me 21.16 divided by 1.15 equals $18.40. Okay? Did it come out smaller? Yes. Okay? That's what we're expecting. Example 4. A dishwasher normally costs $320, but is on sale for 15% off. What is the sale price? Okay? What you got to think about the sale price is when you pay for a dishwasher, normally you pay for 100% of what the dishwasher costs. But since there is a sale price, you are taking off means subtract, and we are taking off 15%. You don't pay 15%, okay? You take off 15%. So 100% minus 15% equals 85%. So that is our percentage of interest, okay? We are only going to pay 85% of what that dishwasher was at this time. So 85% of $320 equals our X, because that's our unknown. Okay? So 85% gets changed to 0.85. Of means multiply. 320. And as I said before, since we got a smaller percentage times the number, we should be expecting a smaller number. Okay? So we should have some number less than 320, because that would be really silly if you went and had a sale on an item and you actually paid more than what you were actually getting or what the original price was. So 0.85 times 320 is $272. Markups and discounts. We just talked about a discount problem, but there is also such a thing as markups. If an item is discounted X percent, you will only pay 100 minus X percent of the original cost. Okay? As we just showed earlier, 100% minus 15% was 85%. We only paid 85% of the original cost. There are such things as markups, say a markup on pants, etc., etc. When a business buys an item, they mark it up a certain percentage, so you have to pay more, which increases their profit. So a markup is a tax that you add. So 100% plus X percent of the original listed price. So say, for instance, a pair of pants costs $10. We can mark that up to 130%. Therefore, we are making more money, which is going to make our business thrive. That's all I have for you today. Please enjoy. We'll talk to you tomorrow.